gentlemen, boys and girls, species around the multiverse, welcome to Geek Syndicate. We are doing what we always do, bringing the sass back to geekdom. I am Monts, and he...
He's the Nuge.
Sup, Nuge?
Sup, Monts?
Yeah.
That concludes episode 365 of Geek Syndicate.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yay.
Latest players.
It's been that kind of week.
It has been that kind of week.
Yeah.
How you doing anyway?
Yeah, I'm all right. My brain's all over the place, but, you know, here I am.
Why don't you tell the folks why you... Because you're going to try and weasel it into the episode at some point.
Mate, ain't no doubt.
So let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way.
All right, so there's a software company called Atlas West. Are they called Atlas West? I think they're called Atlas, but I think they're Japanese based, and I think their branch over here is called Atlas West. And I don't know any of the games they've brought out, but the games that if you're into that, you know it well, like Persona. Yeah, that's all I know. And so about the end of 2022, I recorded a voice for a game, and the guys are like, "Yeah, no, this game, this is going to be like one of the main characters in the game." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice." I've never been a main character before. And as I'm recording, like they bring out, on this scene, you've got to send the player character off on a side quest. I'm like, "Oh, so I'm providing a side quest. Nice. That's new for me. That's all good." So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the character. And then I learned, they didn't tell me what the game was called. I didn't find out for about a year and a half. I didn't even know what the production company was. And then I found out about 6 months ago, maybe, and it's a game with the snappy title of Metaphor Refantasio. And I'm playing a character called Neuras, which is kind of like a second tier main character, if that makes sense. But yes, it's quirky engineer type character, got a lot of quirks. It's a fun character. So this game came out last Friday as we're recording this. It's been out less than a week. And on the first day of release, it sold over 1 million copies. And it's the highest launching game on Steam of all time. And I think at one point, I can't quite remember, I hope I got this right, it was something like 69,000 people playing concurrently at the same time.
Wow.
On launch day. And I was like, yeah, so let me do a little bit more digging around. And my character has gone down well, because that's always the thing. Although so I saw some people, I think it's because I'm more mature now that I laugh at these things rather than get upset. Because it had English cast announced, yeah, because it's a Japanese game, we did the English voices. And like some people say, yeah, I recognize this guy, but the rest are nobodies. I'm like, no, nobodies. I've been in this game for 20 years, man. What the hell? Who are you? And then there was some other person going, yeah, I started playing it, but I hate Brits, so I've switched to the Japanese version.
Wow.
What? It's American. Yeah, I hate Brit voices, so I'll switch to the Japanese version.
I hate American voices. I mean, that's not true.
But I mean, some people are just, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, and so what happens next is I've been invited to attend a panel at MCM Comic Con and to do a meet and greet afterwards. So if you're there on the 26th of October, come find me, come say hello at the Metaphor Refantasio panel or meet and greet. So yeah, it's all kicking off, man. And I've been watching people play it on Twitch and going, oh, I love this scene, and wait to see if they recognize me, which they never do because they're too busy playing the game to look me up.
So couple of things. So one, like, you know, congrats. You know what I mean? I'm chuffed for you, excited for you.
Cheers.
However, I ain't paying money to come and see you at some meet and greet.
How you mean?
I ain't paying money to just come and see you.
You're my closest friend. What's happened to support, man? I'm backing
That's
people
what
up.
This is.
I'll always have you back, boy. That's what you say.
Here's your meet and greet. You're welcome.
Here's your meet and greet.
Covered up. And then when you become big and famous, as I hope you do one day, I could then turn around and sort of go, yeah, I met him years ago, man. We did a meet and greet and everything.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's good to know who's got your back. No,
Also, other questions, money related. So if I get like your signature and I dig out a couple of old photos of B&E and I like maybe stick the signature on, is that going to be worth some money in the future?
let's say yes.
Just asking for a friend.
Yeah. Tell your friend. Always bet on black.
Okay. Wow, that's where we're going, is it? All right, playing that hard. That's early. All right. Aye. But no, seriously though, I am, I'm chuffed you, man.
People are talking like, this is a shoe-in for Game of the Year, which, like, if it was, that'd be 2 years in a row I'm in a game, which was Game of the Year. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with the direction things are going.
Hey, also, man, don't knock it, because them video game awards, man, they spend some money in them award shows. You get yourself invited to one of those, man.
Yeah, no, I'm up for that. I'm up for that. Yeah. So
yeah, that's great. I'd still love it. I mean, it's great where video games in general now. It's great where video games are in terms of success and whatever, and how they're seen and stuff. I'd love the same level of success to happen with comics.
Yeah. I feel like it was on its way and it kind of peaked and then just never quite happened. And I think what's also sad about that is that what films have done. I mean, like you say, you want to go to cinema to see a superhero film. It's a golden time. Mm-hmm. But what that means is, and there's one encounter I cannot get out of my head. It was earlier this year. I just started a job in Bristol. I was talking to the writer and, I'm a big Marvel fan. So I'm like, okay, so I start to get into it. I look at her face. She don't know what I'm talking about. Because when she says she's a Marvel fan, she's just talking movies, knows nothing about the comics and isn't that bothered to. And it's a big shock to me that, I kind of expected someone to say, yeah, I'm a Marvel films fan, but they're not. To them, that is their Marvel.
Yeah.
And that was quite a big watershed moment for me. Yeah, I mean, it, but it was like, oh no, this is really different times.
And you see,
she was like, I don't like DC at all. And I said, she goes, don't like the characters. I was like, yeah, but what about characters like The Question? I'm like, no idea, because none of those characters are in the movies.
Yeah. And that's not about, do you know what I mean? That's not a diss on her or whoever, because however you come to it is however you come to it. But again, I just feel like these films, these properties have made so much money. And they've made household names out of relatively unknown stars, and they've revived careers and stuff like that. And whereas the stories that they've actually come from and the people that put in the work into those stories just kind of get left a bit in the dust, and it leaves a bit of a taste in my mouth. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like there's more that the producers could do to celebrate the people who provided the source material.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And what you do get is you get like a few lines in the credits at the end of the credits. But in my mind, the only people looking out for that are people like you and me. Do you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Celebrate where it comes from, and they don't do that.
And I don't know how we get past it. I don't know. I do think like Marvel and DC are making all this money, and how much of this money is actually going back into their comic production.
Yeah. But yeah.
Because really and truly, like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I guess that's the thing. There isn't really an answer to it. It's just something that's always bothered me, that the rise of these films and stuff, and they've been really successful and things like that, and it's just not been equal to the same rise in the comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you go, I mean, you may well have done, but you go and look at like some of the video game award shows where they've had. I remember watching one. I think it's God of War one, and you had the guy from Stargate who plays Teok. Forgotten his name in real life. Yeah, he's the voice actor. He's the main sort of voice actor guy for Kratos. And when I saw that he come up to give a speech or whatever, when I saw the it was like I was watching the Oscars once.
Yeah.
And to me, I would love to see that kind of level going on with comics.
Yeah, I mean, a few people. I mean, I remember being involved in the British Comic Awards for a while, and it was trying to do that, but the person who was organising it was practically doing it in their spare time. Do you know what I mean? There's only so much you can do before the burnout kicks in.
Yeah,
and there's
I suppose the closest. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, there's no money behind it, which is the thing.
Yeah, and I suppose So if there's anything, because I guess the closest we get now is the Eisner Awards.
Yeah.
Which is part of Comic-Con or whatever. But I guess that's the thing, is it's kind of like it comes down to the money. But I'm like, no badness, but Marvel, but you got to have some spare change knocking about after the MCU films. You're telling me you couldn't siphon off some of that cash towards your comics section?
Yeah. Well, that's not where the money's coming back from, is it? So it's all capitalism! Yay!
Anyway, on that positive note,
check out Metaphor Refantasio. You're right, Ed.
Right, on that note, before we get to these, you got your shout-outs?
Yeah, probably, but I've forgotten them.
Okay. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Mike Swartz. Apologies if I've got your surname wrong, Mike. Mike's a long-time listener. He's launching I think his Kickstarter has launched for a middle grade graphic novel called Water Racers, which is based on ideas and designs by his kids.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so back in the day, Mike did a sort of collect. He did a comic called Oceanverse,
which was fantastic.
Which was like this sort of steampunk underwater, adventure comic, and it was legend. Obviously, I'm slightly biased because I was in
it. Fair.
So I love this dude, and I thought I just wanted to give him a shout out and his Kickstarter, and I will put a link to his Kickstarter in the show notes. Go check it out. He sent me his graphic novel to read. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but if it's anything like his Oceanverse stuff, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and he knows what he's been around for a while, man. He knows what he's doing.
It's a 160-page graphic novel. That's what it's going to be. And it's going to be hardcover by the look of it as well. It looks nice, man. Yeah, I'm just looking through and looking at some of the art and stuff. Yeah, it looks really nice. So, right, do you want to crack on with some news?
Yeah. It's man, I had news and I forgot what it is. So it's all down to Barry. It's time for the news.
So my first bit of news, which is leading on from the comics tip, is so have you heard of a comics app called GlobalComix?
I think it rings a bell. I think Dean might have mentioned it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's a little bit like Comixology. It seems to be like a lot of indie stuff on there, like some European comics and some other bits and bobs. And I've been circling around checking it out for a while, and I've just never got around to it. And I think with the demise of Comixology, I know you still get a lot of comics on Kindle Unlimited and stuff, but again, it's that thing of you kind of need to know what you're looking for, and even when you go to the unlimited stuff, it's still a bit difficult to find stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been announced this week that DC Comics have now come to GlobalComix.
Right. So okay, go on. You finish and I'll ask my question.
I was going to say, yeah. So basically, they've announced a collaboration with GlobalComix to bring more than 100 DC series to the digital comics platform. So some of the titles at the moment include the Tom King run of Batman.
Right.
So that's the I'm trying to think if that's the Court of Owls stuff. Can't remember. Catwoman volumes 1 to 6. Doom Patrol, the Grant Morrison Doom Patrol
Yeah,
volumes 1 to
yeah.
6. The Joker by James Tyrion, the fourth. Was that fifth? Sweet Tooth, which is obviously by Jeff Lemire and Netflix series and others. I've just sort of gone on to GlobalComix and I've sort of joined it. And my plan is to sort of give it a proper sort of look-see, get the app on my phone or my tablet and see what it's like. But I can already see things like they got 52 on there, which if people haven't read 52, I remember when we were reading it back in the day, we were reading it as it came out. I still stand by 50. That was a great
52
run,
was
man.
great, man. Yeah. That gave me so much hope for what was to come.
I know. Looks like they got, Deceased.
Yeah.
The DC one. That's on there, which again, both me and you love that one, man. So again, I'll check it out. But yeah, so it looks like they've got a fair few things on there. So yeah, what were you going to say?
No, so how does it work? Do you pay for the app, or do you pay for the comics on the app, or?
I don't know, because I've literally just joined it. I'm just going to go to one of the random DC ones. Let's go.
And also, I mean, like you just to focus on something you said. How easy is it to find indie comics?
So it doesn't look like it has. I mean, I could be wrong because I've only had a quick look, but it doesn't look like it has a thing like a Comixology Unlimited where you just pay monthly and you just read what you want.
Okay.
But I could be wrong until I've had a proper look about.
Oh, that sounds like it's worth a look-see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my thing is I kind of like both options because I like the option now of paying a monthly fee and then I've got access to everything.
Because the streaming wars have done my head in. I'm kind of like, I'd like everything in one place, to be honest.
I know.
Like, because with TV, it's like, I want to watch this. Now, where is it? Or you come back to something after a couple of weeks ago. Now, where did I watch that on? What platform was it on? I'd love, the thought of everything in one place makes my heart happy.
I keep getting, and then we'll talk about it when we get to it. There was, but yeah, I keep forgetting a whole load of stuff came back, and I had no idea because it was on a platform that I hadn't looked at in a while, and you know what I mean?
Easily done.
It's becoming nonsense now. But yeah, so that's some good news, I think. Anyway, because I think the fact that DC have gone there sometimes, I think that's kind of what happened with Comixology. I think once the big boys came in. Everywhere else sort of jumped on the bandwagon.
The age-old story.
So this could be, what really puts it on the map. The downside is obviously that's what happened with Comixology, and then they got so big that then obviously got bought out by Amazon, and the rest, as they say, is history, and a pretty dark history at that.
Yeah, isn't it?
So, I think it was the last episode. I had a bit of like science news. And then you like dissed all over it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So ever since that, I've been like waking up on a daily basis, just vexed, walking around, slapping ice cream cones out of small children's hands and not really understanding why. Do you know what I mean? What you got to smile about? You
need to connect to your feelings, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I found this bit of news.
This is how the Jedi turn evil. You know that?
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I'm killing young in his legs, man. Yeah. So basically, BBC News reported that a spacecraft has blasted off to hunt for alien life on a distant moon. So NASA has launched a spacecraft this week, just after Hurricane Milton.
Yeah,
had forced it to postpone. Europa Clipper will now travel 1.8 billion miles to reach Europa, a deeply mysterious moon orbiting Jupiter. It will not arrive until 2030, but what it finds could change what we know about life in our solar system. Trapped under the moon's surface could be a vast ocean with double the amount of water on Earth.
What he done?
I mean, there's more, but I mean, I feel that's pretty big.
It's huge, man. Kira, my 9-year-old, told me about this yesterday. And yeah.
What? Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. what? No, I appreciate the work though and the
Yeah,
research.
no, you don't, man. I told you this last time. You don't appreciate the work. I could hear it in the laughter coming out of your face.
I actually got tears in my eyes.
Can't believe it, man. You know what, Kira, if you're listening, well done. Well done. Ace reporting. Thanks.
Yeah, she.
Why don't you just get Kira to record a little bit and let her do the D's?
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
All right,
Wow.
I'll see what she'll have for next week.
Wow. Yeah, because I'm going to stop doing it now.
No, I think it's important.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
You just want me to waste my time getting a piece of news.
No.
And at what point were you going to tell me? At what point you let me waste my time?
No, to be fair, she told me they were looking for alien life, so it was a bit,
What? It's exactly the same story. It's exactly the same story.
She likes space stuff. But I think, if anything, for your own personal development, it's a great.
Let's just move on to that week that was, man. Before I lose it, end this call.
All those poor children are going to lose their ice creams over the course of the next week.
I tell you what, kids better watch out next week, man, because I'm on the hunt to be knocking ice creams out.
So, it's time for the week that was.
I'm almost scared to do any week that was stuff in case that's all been covered off.
Oh no, I'm in control now. Look, let's start off with this one. Yeah,
Okay.
So I get like emails from Amazon recommending different comics and stuff. And one came up, and it's by our old pal Al Ewing.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I looked at the picture on the front. And it's got a woman in in a suit, and she's clicking. There's lightning coming out of her fingers, and there's a guy in a suit with an orange shirt behind it. It kind of looks kind of crime pulpy.
Okay.
And it's called Avengers Incorporated. But the full title is Avengers Incorporated Action Mystery Adventure. So I was like, this sounds like this is right up Barry's street. So I'm going to read you the blurb now.
Okay.
The Wasp assembles a whole new style of Avengers. Her name is Janet Van Dyne. His name is Victor Shade. She's a hero. He's a villain. She's a celebrity. He's an enigma. She's hunting a killer. He just got killed. And together, they're out to solve every mystery in the Marvel Universe, starting with their own. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
I mean, you had me at the title anyway.
I know.
But that's one of the best blurbs I've heard in a while, man.
Especially from a mainstream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did you say this is on? Is this on Kindle Unlimited? Did you say?
Unfortunately not. You're looking at 7 boys.
Is that for the whole thing, or is that?
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Okay. All right.
No, I mean that's all right, isn't it?
That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you've not read it yet.
Pages. I haven't read it yet. I literally saw it yesterday and went, Barry, need to tell Barry.
No, man. No. That's quality, man.
Yeah.
Is it? Have you looked at a preview or anything? What's the art like?
I haven't. I've only I love the cover, but that's all I've seen.
Okay. No. Do you know what? Regardless, I would pick it up anyway. I was just interested.
Let me do a little.
I'm just doing a little. Oh, do you know what? It's fine. Straight
in, man. It's like, yeah.
I just saw that. So is the cover you looking at? She's standing there, like she's standing front and center, and he's like to the side.
He's side off. Yeah, side on.
Yeah. No. I'm there. I'm just looking at the preview because I'm just interested, but it doesn't matter. I'd be reading it anyway.
So I just did the Google, and it's got it's just got a couple of pages of preview. And it's got like typed sheets with like photos thrown down, like you're looking at a private investigator's desk with his note.
Yeah, that's what I've just seen.
Okay, yeah. All right.
No, I'm in, man.
Glad to be.
And you know what? And you know what? Right. This is the importance that podcasts bring. Not just our podcast, but podcasts, I think, in general, and certainly with things like comics and books and stuff like that, because there's so much stuff out there in all mediums that I spend a lot of my time getting overwhelmed with what to watch next or what to read next or whatever. So much so that so much stuff slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, man, if you hadn't told me about this, I wouldn't have found this.
Do you know what? And often these Amazon recommends emails come up, and I'm like, oh, another one. I just like scoot past it, and I don't know why I looked at this one, but I was like, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
no. As soon as we're done here, I'm purchasing that bad boy. So on the comics tip, I stumbled across comics. Someone had been it was shout out to Matt Williams from the our Facebook group had basically put this cover on, and it's a cover of a comic called Topsy McGee and the
I
Scarab of
saw that.
Solomon.
That
Yeah,
looked good. I thought that looked really good.
yeah, all sort of like pulp adventure cover, basically set on the eve of the 20th century. And I went and had a bit of a look online, and I was like, you know what? It actually has been a long time since I picked up a straight up indie comic.
Mm.
So I said stuff it. So I purchased it on the spot.
Also, Topsy McGee.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it sells itself. So yeah, so basically ordered it, came a couple of days later, whatever. I finished it today. So the story's by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt, written by Yuri Lowenthal, art by Dennis Medry. He did issue 1. Will Jones did issue 2. Hannah Alasher and Harry Marmo did issue 3. Colour by Will Jones. Written by Darren Bennett. And basically, the blurb reads, Topsy McGee and her husband, Captain Sean McGee, are England's premier adventurers. They've travelled the world surviving all manner of scoundrels, brutes, and villains, both mundane and mysterious, with wit, flair, and pluck. But never before has danger struck this close to home. When Topsy receives a telegram from her father, an airship ride to Cairo is only the beginning. Topsy and Sean must take on goons, assassins, and cultists with the help of allies like Harry Houdini and Captain Debo. Will they be able to learn the truth of the Scarab of Solomon before it's used against them? It's a race against time in a steampunk world that could have been, with the fate of the family and the world in the balance.
Nice.
Didn't disappoint. You can tell the love of the genre in this comic. You can tell it from the dialogue to the art. Yeah, you could just see that they're having fun with it. And there's one bit where it's like, they do like a noise. There's like a sort of sound effect, and the husband's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "I heard it too, darling. The carrying call of adventure." And he says, and then he says, "I was going to say tea." Do you know what I mean? And they're very like stiff upper lip. Do you know what I mean? But the look of them, in some ways, the look of them and the sort of feel of it, I would compare to The Mummy.
Right. Okay.
Only the difference being, is obviously they're both British, whereas in The Mummy you had Rick O'Connell, was American, but the husband looks like Rick O'Connell, even down to the fact that I always remember Rick used to bust a sort of scarf type thing around his neck, which is what the husband does as well. Yeah, it's just fun. Once I breezed through it, had fun with it, job done, and I'd like to see them do more. But yeah, I think if you liked that kind of pulp, like the Mummy films and like The Shadow, and maybe not so much The Shadow, maybe like the Rocketeer and The Phantom. It's that kind of vibe.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because similarly, I saw another pulp type comics, but a kind of crime based one, and I really liked the cover art I was looking at. It's called A Girl Called Cthulhu, and it's by Cynthia.
Oh.
It's by Cynthia von Buhler. And then also, so it was in my head, and I noticed that Comic News Insider, which is our pal Jimmy Aquino's podcast, mentioned this comic, and so I thought maybe So The Girl Called Cthulhu is the 3rd series. So I thought, well, I'll have a look, and it's produced by Titan under the imprint Hard Case Crime. It's great.
Oh yeah.
And it's And it's about an adventurer called Minky Woodcock. And the first series is called The Girl Who Handcuffed Houdini.
Oh, okay.
What's the plot? It says Minky is the daughter of famed private detective Benedict Woodcock, reputed to be the inspiration for Sherlock Holmes. Her mother drowned when she was young, and her brother Benedict Jr. has no interest in being a detective, instead wanting a career in dance. Nevertheless, he is part of the Benedict and Son agency. Mindy, a devoted fan of Agatha Christie with a pet rabbit named after the author, very much wants to be a detective, but is instead the agency's secretary, much to her displeasure. And then in the first issue, Arthur Conan Doyle comes along, wanting to engage the detectives to expose Harry Houdini. And as her dad and brother aren't there, she takes on the case.
So the first one you read isn't
The Girl Called Cthulhu.
It's The Girl Who Handcuffed Houdini.
Yeah. So you got The Girl Who Handcuffed Houdini. The next one's called The Girl Who Electrified Tesla. And then it's The Girl Called Cthulhu.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, the art is really, I think the word I'd use is sumptuous. And it reminds me, there's a Czech painter called Mucha who drew women a lot. And it just drew, art kind of reminds me of that in terms of the colours and the way she draws women. But I'll just put this warning out there that Cynthia von Bühler is obviously very influenced by the burlesque side of things.
Okay.
So it gets quite sexual, sometimes for no good reason. But there's a little S&M in there as well. And there's a bit where like they go to this medium, and Arthur Conan Doyle is, for anyone who's easily offended, Madam Marjorie, whatever her name is, calls the spirits completely naked. So don't come in. I'm kind of like, why?
Why?
Why? What's that? Some good heating going on, man. But so it's just the bits you go, oh, that's happening now, is it? Okay, fine, but kind of why? So yeah, it was interesting. I enjoyed it enough to go, I want to read the next one.
Okay, so
but,
did you
go on? I was gonna say, but there's some little jumps in people doing stuff that makes me go, I don't quite get this.
So did you read the whole story? Or was it just a? Like,
I read the whole story, which I think
okay. Where'd you get it from?
Amazon. It's not on Unlimited. It's not on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay.
So it's about the same, but £7, roughly about that for.
Right. Where have I? Next thing is, yeah. So I've now seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Cool. So I haven't seen the second Deadpool movie yet.
No, therein lies, like, I think our joint issue. So first off, like, I want to say, like, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It wasn't like the second coming as some people made it out to be. But therein lies my problem, is the fact that, like, I think for me, it's a 50-50 film, right? And part of that is, unless you're like a big fan of that Deadpool style humor, you're going to struggle.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I haven't seen the second one, because I found the first one to be a bit too. I don't know. I know I get slaughtered for this every time, but I'm like, I'm as immature as the next guy, but I'm like, I was watching it going, I'm not 13 anymore, and I felt like, it just felt a bit too much on the nose for me.
But I think that in some ways, the weird thing is, if this had come out like in the heyday of like the MCU, right? It would have fitted in terms of when Marvel were kind of leaning in more to, like, every film felt different.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man was like a heist film, and Winter Soldier was very much Cold War and all that. If you dropped in Deadpool, it would very much fit, because it was like it's his own thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like its own genre type thing, and that's how I kind of viewed this film. And don't get me wrong, like, there were some bits in there which were funny, and the action was great. I guess I was annoyed because everything had been spoiled for me bar one thing,
Oh,
through no
right.
fault.
Okay.
Through no fault, there's loads of cameos. I mean, there's some ridiculous cameos in there once. And most of them I wasn't that, but there was a couple. There was probably three of them that if had I not had known, it would have probably moved it to. I would give it like 7, 8 maybe.
Oh, that's
If
decent.
as I said, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I had fun with it, and that's kind of my benchmark for films these days. Did I enjoy it? Yes. But had I not known about certain cameos, and I had gone into the film without knowing them cameos, and then those cameos had happened, I would have lost my shit.
Right.
I would have lost my shit. You know what I mean? But I went in knowing, so it took the edge off it, I think. However, all the stuff with Wolverine was brilliant.
Okay.
Just because what I loved about it was that Hugh Jackman never broke character, which was my worry. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, it's Deadpool Wolverine. Oh no, is going to be like a? I mean, it is basically Marvel does a buddy cop film in a lot of ways, and he's like the gruff by the book kind of guy. I liked his backstory, but it's the fact that he was still Wolverine to the point of like, I'm not bothered whether a film swear or not. You know what I mean? But like, they've got him swearing in this, and he delivers like this monologue to Deadpool, which is he's basically just cussing him. And let me tell you, by the end of that monologue, I was like, "That's how you do Wolverine. That's how you." I was just like, they should have that dude swearing from the full because he annihilated him with words, man. So yeah, it was good fun. I did enjoy it. But it wasn't as people were saying to me, the best Marvel film ever, and blah blah. I mean, if it is for you, that's all good. It wasn't for me. So
right, okay.
And I would say, given you probably don't know the cameos, I would say from that reason alone, you should check it out when you can easily.
Right, okay. Does it matter that I haven't seen the second one?
Nah, not really. I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't remember much of the second film anyway, so I kind of went into it relatively sort of blind. It doesn't really. It's not. I mean, Deadpool films are not really them sort of films where you need to be that heavy on like knowing what's gone before. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be gags.
Right.
Gags.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think as well, there's some stuff in there where I even though they sort of deal with it and they do sort of explain it, I still kind of feel you struggle a little bit if you haven't seen Loki.
Right, okay.
Because have you seen Loki? Any of it?
The second series? I saw the first series.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because it's a mild spoiler, but a lot of it revolves around the TVA.
Right, okay, all right.
You know, but unless you've seen, and although it's explained in the film, obviously if you've seen Loki, you get more out of that, don't you?
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah. It was an enjoyable romp.
All right, I'll take that. I'll give that a go.
Okay. You got anything next?
So, on our Facebook page, one of the guys, Alasdair Stewart, mentioned he'd read DC All In, which should be paving the way for like the restructuring of the DC universe again, but there's an absolute universe now and another universe and different characters in both. And you know, he was saying it was pretty good, and it sounds like what they've got coming is something that's pretty good. So I thought it's been a while, I'll give it a go. So it's a one shot, 64-page one shot called DC All In. And it's a flip book in that one half deals with Superman and the formation of a new Justice League, and the other focuses on Darkseid and the establishment of the new Absolute Universe. So I've read the first bit with the new Justice League, and I thought it was interesting, but it was okay. But I was like, there's nothing new here that I haven't seen any other time they've sort of tried to restructure the DC universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I was like, what's going on? So I thought, let me go to Wikipedia, and it says that DC All In is a successor of Dawn of DC following the end of Absolute Power. And I'm like, already?
I'm lost.
Already? So I clicked on Dawn of DC. It's a 2023 publishing initiative of its entire line of ongoing monthly superhero comic book titles following the events of the 2022 crossover events Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and Lazarus Planet, started the DC started the Dawn of DC line with Action Comics and concluding with Absolute Power. The initiative succeeds the Infinite Frontier line, and we've been succeeded by the DC All In. And I'm like, all right, so what about Absolute Power? Let me go to that. Absolute Power. The event takes place in the aftermath of House of Brainiac. Serving as the conclusion to the Dawn of DC. I am so lost, man.
Can I just say before you continue? I start because it was on Kin Unlimited. Dark. What's the one you said? Dark Crisis. Or
Yeah.
KFC. If that's what it was.
DC KFC.
Every KFC in existence is being wiped out. And now Batman and the Justice League must join forces to save the last KFC in Tottenham. Yes, I started to read Dark Crisis. I got, bearing in mind, I've been loving like a lot of the DC Black Label stuff and whatever.
Yeah,
and I saw that. I was like, hey, I'm going to dive into this as well, mate. I've read about, I don't know, about 5 pages, and I was like, I'm out, because I genuinely didn't know what was going on. And they were trying to explain who was who, and I was just like, do you know what? I've got better things to be doing than being explained stuff too. When there's another Black Label comic I could go read.
Yeah, so, and I think Go on. I was just saying, I think that's where I am. I can't. It's gone too far for me to plug into, and I'm like, how the hell are you expecting to bring new readers in? I have no idea. Maybe you're relying on the Black Label stuff. I don't know.
I suppose what I'd heard was Absolute stuff is supposed to be almost like set in its own universe. So effectively, so can be a jumping on point.
So as far as I could tell, the DC universe has been cut off from the multiverse.
Right.
Except when that happened, they registered another universe, which was chaotic, meaning it hadn't settled down, but now it's full of chaotic dark side energy.
Is this the Absolute universe then?
Yeah.
Right, okay. It's a lot, isn't it? It's
a lot. I'm like, what? And now you've got a series coming out, which have already started: Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Flash, Absolute Green Lantern. And so they're the same heroes, but they started at a disadvantage. And superheroes are the underdogs in the Absolute universe.
Right. Isn't this one with like Batman's skin or something?
He's skint, and he's the size of the Hulk by the looks of it.
Right. What I don't understand, right? So I've been trying to get I'm getting older and whatever. So I've been trying to get myself in a bit of shape and stuff. And everyone, people keep telling me, oh, you need to keep your protein up, eat chicken, get protein shakes. And I kept saying like, that stuff ain't cheap,
Yeah.
Right. So I looked at this thing and it was like, yeah, Batman's got no money. I'm like, he's got no money, right? But how's he got like that?
And who's making his costumes? You know what I mean? Costumes. I've been trying to working out if I can cosplay as a character I played in the computer game Metaphor Refantasio. And I'm like, that ain't cheap. Just trying to get a coat.
I remember my cosplay back in the day was Beverly Hills Cop, which was just a hoodie and a t-shirt.
Yeah, got funds for that.
Yours was, you did the question, which was basically the coat you already had.
And I had a trilby.
And you had a trilby.
And I got a pair of tights and doubled it over and taped it to my face. Do you know what I mean?
There's your Absolute, man.
You know what I mean? It was making you.
Hey, do you know what? I just thought that'd be a great team up, man. Axel Foley, the question. Hey,
yay, right?
DC.
Yeah.
Get on.
Yeah. Doom. That's how it's gonna go.
Killed it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm interested because I've heard a few people who I trust say to me like they really enjoyed the first issue of Absolute Batman, but there's a part of me with the premise of it and given how he looks, I'm interested to pick it up just to see how they're going to explain away that he's got no money. And as someone said, how is no one spotting him as Bruce Wayne? Given because he is ridiculously huge.
Hench.
Yeah, hench. That's the phrase. Hench.
So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was such a complicated journey to get there, man. Wow.
I'm such a DC fan, and I want to, but it feels painful. it just feels long. Do you know what I mean? It feels long.
Yeah.
And it's like, the road to absolute. I don't want a road. Just do it.
Sounds like Spaghetti Junction to absolute, man.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Well, in more cheerful news, just to cheer you up, I know you've now seen Twilight of the Gods, haven't you? Which was the
I am still in recovery.
Good, wasn't it?
Yes. It was quite good. Yes. I mean, this 6 episodes, man. Not a touch of filler, pure story and character work. I'm like, wow. And I called you I was halfway through the last episode, and I called you because I needed a break. I couldn't take it.
I know. I also just realised when you called me, we then had which we're going to have to save for another episode. We then had an hour-long conversation about my thoughts on Night Sleeper, which were not
yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we need to have another chat, because I don't feel we've got about 10 minutes. I don't feel like 10 minutes is enough time to cover it off.
No.
Long time listeners, man, hold on to your hats, because I got shit to say.
I am really looking forward to this conversation, man. I can't even tell you. We'll come back to that, man. Let's stay on Twilight of the Gods. Let's stay
yeah.
So I mean, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's a really unique animation style, which I really enjoyed. All the characters.
Do you know what it reminded me of, animation-wise? It reminded me of Samurai Jack.
Yes. Yes. A bit more detailed.
Yeah.
Than that, but absolutely. Every character was so well fleshed out and so well motivated. And the storyline was nothing short of epic. Yeah. I mean, I've got nothing but applause for that show.
Yeah. I tell you, this year has been the year of animation for me, man. There's just so much stuff that's just killing it at the moment. And I mean, like, on that tip, all I can say is I don't know how more people aren't talking about The Legend of Vox Machina. Love that show.
So that's back, is it?
Yeah. So I want to say we're on season
2. It's got to be season 2, isn't it?
No, man, it's like season 3 or 4.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it is. It's like season 3 or 4.
Season 3.
Season 3. Okay, yeah. And I think there's 6 episodes already dropped, because I think they dropped a couple in bulk, and then they move on to like a sort of weekly cycle then.
I mean, for me, if you like Dungeons and Dragons,
yeah,
and in fact, I think we first started watching it when the Dungeons and Dragons movie was out, and everyone's going, "Oh, this is great if you like Dungeons and Dragons," and I'm like, "This show is great if you like Dungeons and Dragons."
Yeah,
you know, it's funny, but it's got heart. It's all over it.
The action is, and it's just people putting it on the line every episode, and the level of teamwork when things go to hell. Unparalleled, man.
And it was a real, like, the team getting to know each other, because or learning how to trust each other. And, by the end of the last one they saw, they had, their bond had gone really deep. and they'd come
Yeah.
to respect each other more, and it really showed.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and even like it to me, it was a little bit like Lower Decks in that when I watched the first episode, or I started to watch the first episode, I rolled my eyes a little bit because I was kind of like, oh, so we're doing this, are we? Where it's a cartoon, but every 5 seconds someone's dropping an F-bomb and But then I got to the end of the episode and I was like, okay, I'm in. And then after that, it never put a foot wrong as far as I was concerned. So I would say to people, if you have maybe watched the first episode and thought as I did, maybe circle back round to it and give it another go. Maybe try episode 2 on for size. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Finally, from me, can I quickly mention that I have now watched season 2 of Rings of Power?
Yeah, you could do that.
Do you know what? We had a conversation about this off here, right? First season, I struggled with. You know, I don't think we really talked about it in depth. For some reason, I think you hadn't. I think you watched maybe the first episode and hadn't gone any further.
So I mean, I watched the whole season.
Oh, did you? Season 1?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. And like, so I had a lot of issues with season 1, which a lot of them weren't even to do with the fact that, because I'd seen YouTube videos where people were going into in depth about how they'd like messed this plot element up or messed up this canon from Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But as I understand it, like, they didn't have the rights to Lord of the Rings and stuff. They only had rights to the appendices. So they didn't have rights to the Silmarillion.
Silmarillion.
Yeah, I think it was only the appendices they had rights to. So I think they've taken some like huge like leaps. But for me, as someone who's only read Lord of the Rings once, and I've read The Hobbit loads of times, but Lord of the Rings I've read it once. I wasn't bothered about that stuff because I didn't know it. I don't know canon's being broken if I don't know what the canon is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can kind of go with it if the show is solid. And second season, I enjoyed much more than the first season. I'd say that off the bat. I think one of the things I kind of struggle with that maybe other people would go, no, is almost like if you're going to go off the rails, then you know what? Just go over the cliff, man, and hope for the best. Do you know what I mean? And there's a little bit of where it doesn't quite know where it's trying to go. And almost where you sort of think it's starting to struggle, they throw in some sort of reference to Lord of the Rings, but more to the films than the books, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's that almost like, you remember that time in Lord of the Rings when this happened? Or you remember that time where that happens? And a prime example, it's a mild spoiler, but someone gets a sword and they literally mirrored exactly the same scene that they did in one of the Lord of the Rings films. I won't say what film it is. And I was kind of like, just do your own thing, man.
You know what? So I was prepared because someone said to me, you just got to imagine it's like fan fiction. It's like Tolkien fan fiction with a budget. And I was like, okay, that's what was getting good. But I need it then to be solid and good.
Yes.
And, each their own, because some people have said the exact opposite what I'm about to say. I thought the dialogue was was ropey. I thought, I just thought everything else was so standard high fantasy. It was like what I would expect from someone trying to do this like 20 years ago and just getting it slightly wrong. I don't know. That was just me. The question was, having watched the second season, does that make you feel better about watching the third?
I would watch the third season. And put it this way, I was watching, when that first season dropped, I watched the first season and I watched, what's the other one?
Yeah.
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
Yeah. I watched the first season of Wheel of Time and let's just say the wheel never turned for me again.
Interesting, because I'm going back to that one, but I don't feel like going back.
But you loved the books from back in the day, didn't you?
But also, I just think compared to the books, Wheel of Time TV series was a travesty.
Oh, okay.
and they ruined some of the characters for me completely. But Pete McNulty is an old friend of mine, and we both loved those books back in the day. Like I remember for his birthday once, I bought him this book, and it turned out he'd bought me the same one, which was kind of like a source book, Wheel of Time source book. So
Okay.
that's how deep we were in it. And he messaged me to say second season's a lot better.
Oh, okay.
So I went, all
Alright.
right. On his recommendation, I'm going to go back to it. Whereas I'm
Yeah.
still waiting for a powerful recommendation for.
I didn't give you one, did I?
You gave me a recommendation, but which means I've put it on the list, but it's not the sort of recommendation that has it anywhere near the top of that list.
No, well, that's my thing. Is you know me. If I tell you need to move something, it was like I think I called you after I finished watching Twilight of the Gods, and I said, "Where is it on your list?" You're like, "It's pretty far." I was like, "Move it up, man.
Yeah,
Move it up."
and
You know what I mean?
and for me, when I hear that in your voice, there's no hesitation for me.
Yeah. I can't in good conscience do that with, even though there were some scenes in there which were epic. I can't in good conscience tell you to move it up. When you get around, watch it when you get around to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I said,
There's
I don't think it's.
There's a lot of get around to on my list, though. You know?
I know. I think as well. I think for me as well. It's like I know we had Game of Thrones, but I think Game of Thrones was a different beast because it was very bleak and very dark and whatever. And I think it isn't often that we get shows that do that kind of fantasy where it's like, you know, there's a nobility to it. Do you know what I mean? You got heroes to cheer for and villains to be. You know, you don't get a lot of that coming around. I don't think so anyway in the fantasy scale. So I think part of that was the reason why I stuck with it in season 2. For them sort of moments, and especially now I know Peter Minotti is giving it like seal of approval. I'll probably, now that Lord of the Rings is finished, so Rings of Power is finished, I'll probably circle back around to it. But my other thing is as well, I have to say, is the whole concept of it is this is how the Rings of Power get made. And I'm like, but I'm not interested in. I think sometimes that's my problem with it. It isn't the way it looks or even somebody acting. I do think some of the dialogue, they don't quite know how to write that kind of Tolkienist dialogue, so it comes off a bit like trying to write Shakespeare, but you don't quite know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're throwing in D's and Dows where you don't have to, and it's that sort of stuff.
I think that's what I was getting at earlier when I said that I just found it a little bit high fantasy cheapness, kind of like, do you know what I mean? It's that like. Yeah, you don't need these. Yeah, exactly that.
It's just finding that middle ground, which I think the films did beautifully. I think part of it, I guess, the more of the attraction of something like the, I was going to say Wheel of Power. That's not that. The Wheel of Time is I have no knowledge of the story, none, or any of the characters. So I'm going in blind. So it's like a whole new fantasy world for me. So in some ways, if that had, because let's be honest, it hasn't got the same level of budget. If it had the same level of budget as well, I'd be like much more invested in that, because it's like I really don't know what's going to happen. Whereas watching the Rings of Power, I'm kind of like, well, they're going to make the rings, aren't they? And then they're going to divvy out the rings, and then they're going to take out Sauron again, and then. It's like, that's Sauron dealt with. It's like, well, we know he's not, because he's going to come back in the Lord of the Rings. Do you know what I mean? So prequels are funny, a fickle beast to me sometimes, because I do struggle with them sometimes, especially when you've got I'm not saying that, characters, not knowing that a character isn't ever going to die because I know they exist in that other property is a bad thing, because there's other ways you can, change that character and stuff. But there is a bit of a struggle when you put him in some situations. You're like, well, she's going to be right, isn't she? Because she's in Lord of the Rings, isn't she?
Yeah.
And that's I think sometimes that is my biggest struggle with the show. Is kind of like I'm not really that invested in knowing that level of the history, especially when it is pretty much made up.
Yeah.
Because they can't use a lot of the stuff that Tolkien had done. And some people have said they would have rather seen they would have rather have seen a Lord of the Rings TV show. And I feel, yeah.
I very much feel like what am I saying? I do like seeing my favourite shows being made and whatever, but part of me goes, the way to avoid any controversy here is just to do new stuff.
I 100%. 100%.
And then I can just like it or not on its own merit as well, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's the difficulty with shows like this, because it's all mixed up into one big pot. Because it's like, does it work as a standalone show? You know, as in the acting, the story, the whatever. Does it work as in, is it faithful to the canon? Does it work in terms of trying to recreate someone else's world? It's a really difficult trick to pull off, man. When you pull it off, it's amazing, and you've got an inbuilt fan base and all the rest of it. But it doesn't happen that often. When you really check it, a lot of people have tried going on that path, and it hasn't really worked that often. I know that they're talking about now doing like a Harry Potter TV show, and I'm like, okay, you know, or just like you say, Monts, just try and create. I know that's harder in this day and age.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's not like there's so much out. There's more stuff out there than ever. There's more writers out there than ever. There's more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's more things to adapt. If you want to adapt something, man, just walk into a library and just pick up a book at random, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why do you have to keep adapting the same focus? Well, I know the reason, but you know, I love Lord of the Rings and stuff, but like, it's like, come on, man, there's so much other fantasy stuff out there that you could be delving into.
Yeah. Right.
Anywho.
Yeah. I think we're out of time.
We are. Watch Slow Horses, people. Done.
Yeah, I'm so behind on that, man. I'm so behind on so many things. I can't even.
I've only just watched the first episode of the new season of Slow Horses. So.
I haven't started season 2 yet.
Oh, okay.
That's how behind I am.
Okay. Well, the good news is you got some fun times to come, man. Love that show.
Hooray. Yeah. So. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, that's it. So let us know if you think we're talking nonsense, or if you utterly agree with us, or what we should check out next. You can do that by emailing at info@geeks at... Oh, blimey. You could do that by emailing info@geeksyndicate... No. Oh. You could do that by emailing the geeks at geeksyndicate.co.uk, or just check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and let us know the score. Thanks for coming along. Until next time, we out.
Oh, is that what we're doing now? Is it?
I don't know. I kind of lost.
What happened to the until next time? Geek Syndicate, pause. We out. You just
didn't I do that?
No, you didn't.
All right.
You just slapdash it together. That's what you do.
Let's again. Right. Okay. Until next time, Geek Syndicate. We out.
We out. I mean, it's not as good now, is it? Do you know what I mean?
All right.
Now people can see the secret sauce. It's not as cool anymore, is it?
Secret sauce. Secret sauce. Oh, boy.